the first thing I want to say tonight is a huge thank you for all of you for being here. I know you, yes, thank you so much. I know you're all away from your families, and some of you are caring for your families as we speak, and we appreciate that. And I also want to give a huge thank you to the event's organizers, Melissa and Wendy. This is a huge lift in all of our panelists. So this is pretty incredible, and we appreciate it. We are talking today about boosting revenue through legislative advocacy. And both Director Sloop and I, she's going to speak in just a second, we both grew up here in Oregon. I grew up in Clackamas County, and in the Milwaukee and Oregon City area. So we know that there has been decades of underfunding of education, and we are only now finally getting to the level of education funding that we need. So last year, even though the governor's budget did give schools $10 billion, the Westland-Wilsonville School District, we had to cut $10 million from our budget. And then this year, we are going to need to cut millions again because the state funding just isn't keeping up with our expenses. So I'll let Director Sloop talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, yes, so I'm Director Kelly Sloop. This is my 4th year of being on the school board. I'm a lifelong resident of Westland. My parents still live in my childhood home off of Highway 43. I went to Cedar Oak when it was 1 through 4. We didn't have kindergarten. I went to the little Emmanuel Church at the bottom of Hidden Springs. Then I went to Bolton, which was 5 through 8, and then I graduated from Westland High School. My husband and I have lived in Westland for the last 28 years after college. So yes, with boosting the funding, Director Vidal and I are part of there's a Clackamas County Regional School Board legislative advocacy to work with OSBA, which is the Oregon School Board Association, as well as COSA, which is the equivalent for the superintendents, and our local lawmakers. I have a personal interest with special education. Our middle son had some learning disabilities, and also I just have a strong heart for children with physical and learning disabilities, and that's always been my platform. So I wanted to kind of give a brief overlay of why this is important. And there's been some mandates recently by the state lawmakers. They're wonderful ideas, but they're not funded. They're mandated, and so the school districts are left with that financial addition to their budget. One is the unemployment, where if you're a janitor or office staff, you can claim unemployment during Christmas break, spring break, and summer. And that was passed with budgets already made. And so this year, it's estimated that it's going to be about an additional $300,000 to $400,000 to our district in cost. And that will most likely increase as more and more of those staff understand that they can claim the unemployment during those breaks. We also have the wonderful paid family leave. And again, some businesses could absorb if somebody's going to be on vacation, on leave for 3 weeks a month. But with the school district, you have to hire substitutes, and that will be an additional estimated $500,000 just for this year. Our PERS this year is next year. We have a side account for PERS. We actually have 2, and one was going to sunset in 2027, but it is actually sunsetting in 2025. And so our interest rates will go from 7% on one account, 5% on the other, up to 16% for that first account and 12%. And that's going to be an increase of $6 million just for PERS alone. And if you saw in that budget graph, payroll and benefits are about 85% of our budget. So we want to advocate on some intentional messaging to our lawmakers by coming up with like 1 or 2 priorities and have that messaging being the same, so the lawmakers, we have their attention. What do you want to?
And while special education is so important, our most important point is that we need the state legislators to fund education at $11.36 billion, which is the governor's recommendation. And how we hope to do that with your help. First off, I've sent out some meeting invitations to our local legislators to meet with us, and we're going to meet with Representative Courtney Neron. She is the chair of the House Education Committee, so we're hoping to do that this January. But you can also talk to your local legislators about how important funding schools at $11.36 billion is. Senate President Rob Wagner is your senator here in West Lynn. Senator Aaron Woods is over in Wilsonville. Representative Jules Walters is here in West Lynn. And as I mentioned, Courtney Neron is in Wilsonville. And so what you can do is you can attend legislative town halls. I put a flyer out on the table when you got in for an upcoming town hall, and then also the Oregon School Board Association, which we mentioned earlier tonight. We put up another flyer out. They're having a Local Voices Legislative Choices meeting for all of us here in Clackamas County. And I feel like when we join together, we make a much bigger impact. And so I would just so appreciate you all joining us to advocate for education funding. And I want to thank you all again for having us.
So,
yes.
So
Sorry.
the priorities for Westland Wilsonville, one is going to be increasing that cap, which is currently at 11%. Nationally, it's 15%. As mentioned by Wendy, that it is, we have about 14% of our students on involved in special ed through either high-cost disabilities, such as physical disabilities or behavior disabilities, and then we have IEPs and 504s. So for West Lynn, that would mean, and this is kind of a conservative value, if the cap was increased to 13%, that would be an additional $1.5 million to our schools. And if it was increased, let's say 15%, and we were able to fully fund at 14% of our students, that would be an additional $2.25 million. The high-cost disability, there's funding about 30,000, and then it's capped out. However, we have some students who go to Herring Creek, which is an all-day school, but they also have more intensive therapies, whether it's behavior therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and that can run about $130,000 per student for the year. So last year, just for a number, we submitted $2.5 million for our high-cost disability costs, and ODE, once they process it, it's kind of slow, and so once they process it, we might hear by the end of the year, and if it's fully funded, so we'll get 66% of that, which is about 1.6 million, and so that, if it's fully funded, we would receive an additional $1 million to get our 100%. And then PERS, that is an issue for all districts, like Lake Oswego has a $5 million PERS increase. But why do I keep saying that? Governor Kotek is pretty much saying she's going to leave it up to the school districts because PERS is for all public employees, state employees, and so it wouldn't be very equitable if she helped with the school districts and not the other organizations like law enforcement or even the state employees. And then another one was chronic absenteeism in summer school for the other schools in Clackamas County. We're not doing summer school. We cut part of it last year, and it will be cut this summer because we lost our funding. It's a very competitive grant, and Westland did not qualify this time, so we will be cutting our summer learning program. Is there anything else?
I don't think there is anything else. Thank you so much.
Well, except
Oh, yes.
when it gets closer, when it's time to testify, you guys can go on to like OLIS, O-L-I-S, and that's where it will have all of the schedules. But we thought we would have like an advocacy day, so
Yes.
we would meet, we can talk about sending emails to your representative, make them short and sweet, because they don't like to read all of them, but if you just say, I'm for this bill. So we will be actively working with Westland Wilsonville Education for All, so we can get the information out about when those bills will be up for testimony. You can Zoom in and testify, you can email, or you can go down to the state capitol, which we're going to do,
Yes.
and testify in person.